didn't bring pantheism 6,000 years ago. Pantheism came by way of almighty nature 6,000 years ago. You got to understand that. So the spirit gods and the spirit goddesses were in the spirit of pantheism in accordance with nature. So Dr. York taking on that name Melchizedek, he was acting in accordance to nature in the bottom half of the smash circle of order. Also, many of you Melaninites don't know there's another Melchizedek out here by the name of Drunvalo Melchizedek. The ghostized version of the Phoenician Melchizedek, who was Ethiopian.
Truman call him peace in war times. I ain't gonna waste too much time on this. I'm gonna get straight to the proceedings. So I'm gonna continue on with breaking down this confusion that you keep having about Melchizedek and why York chose a name. First of all, this whole Melchizedek thing has been clearly stated what Melchizedek position is in the nature books and in the BIAE. But since we know that you can't comprehend, then we have to take our time and go into this thing real slow for you. All right, so you was partially right that there are it's more than one what you would consider Melchizedek, and the better way to say that is that there are more than one sun god, there's more than one moon god, there's more than one earth god, there's more than one underworld god. So the Caucasian calling himself Melchizedek, that would be different. That would be a different type of sun spirit, because the sun has to make these chemicals less potent depending on the race. So the sun god for the African race would be different than a sun god for the Phoenician race, and so forth and so forth. So what we're gonna do is go into what the books say about Melchizedek, so the listening audience can get an understanding, because you're trying to make it appear that what York did in this particular spirit god of whatever rank or degree it is was a good thing. So since you're using our books, the people have to be able to understand what the book is really saying, because you're trying to chop and screw and pick and choose, trying to clean up York's image, and that's never going to happen. And this is why you continually look stupid trying to speak for another person when his history is known. So we're gonna go to Nature Book 2 and show the screen, because you don't like showing those screens for some reason, and that's just deceptive in its own self. (181) to 182.
This is J.P. Banks Music.
All right, 180. We'll start right here. Listen to reason. The Cain offspring of Adam and Eve were not allowed into the Garden of Eden, Africa and Asia, until 1,000 years after Adam and Eve had been banished from that paradise. The descendants of the first group of Caucasians to migrate from Europe, namely Greece, to Africa and also Asia, are called Jews today. And this means that Caucasian Jews have a 1,000-year culture jump on other members of the Caucasian race. These Caucasian Greeks, Jews, did learn about natural law and order and the administration of the same from priests or rulers like Cheops, who allowed them to become inhabitants of Africa and Asia and excel in the arts and science of the Memphite theology of Egypt. The letter J, as in Jew, is interchangeable with the letter G, as in Greek. To put it another way, Caucasian Jews were originally Caucasian Greeks who became Caucasian Hebrews, practitioners of some culture, before they became religious Jews and organizers of their own moon culture called Judaism. The conspiracy to dethrone and depower kings and rulers of Africa and Ethiopian race descent continued with Melchizedek and his general called Abram. Me and the New already did a video on this 3-4 years ago breaking that down. So Melchizedek was continuing to dethrone. Dethrone means to take away the power of someone, which is our race. So number one, the fact that you use that name was definitely ignorant, because that means that taking on that name mean that spirit God was involved and use York to throw all this mess that's going on. All you did was dagger yourself by saying you trying to make it like it's a good thing. But since we know that this is a spirit war, I'm gonna show you how this works. All right. So what does it say? This conspiracy eventually, conspiracy to dethrone and depower kings and rulers of Africa and Ethiopian descent continued with Melchizedek and his general called Abraham, in parentheses, mentioned in the Old Testament of Caucasian Bible. This conspiracy eventually led to the invasion of Egypt by the Hyksos, the Greek Caucasians, and the oppression of Egyptians by these white foreigners from Asia, namely Assyria. Melchizedek was Phoenician by race. Now we're talking about a Phoenician sun god and a Phoenician by race, which means that this spirit was compatible with that person. All right. So this has nothing to do with York at this point. This is what took place back then. But here the nature books is showing you that the spirit and the person who's a Phoenician, who you would call an Arab today, was part of dethroning Africans everywhere. All right, Melchizedek, Phoenician by race, and also a sun worshiper who conspired with Abram, who was indeed a moon worshiper, and an East Indian by race. So now you have a Phoenician, the pan race of the East Indians. So you got a Phoenician and a Hindu working together, right, to dethrone African, Ethiopian kings everywhere. All right. Again, this shows you that you're ignorant by trying to claim and clear something up. What you're doing is you're trying to twist what the book is saying, what Melchizedek was. All right. And an East Indian by race who paid homage to the moon god Shiva, same as Siva and Sin, be it remembered. Listen to reason. The Caucasian Bible, the New Testament, the book of Hebrews, chapter 7 states that Jesus Christ was a priest after the order of Melchizedek, and Melchizedek was a pantheist, meaning one whose spiritual science was indeed based upon absolute nature and the powers thereof. And this is why the murder of Jesus, the pantheist, marked the end of pantheism as the controlling spiritual force on planet Gaia, known as planet Earth, and the magnification of religion everywhere as we know religion today. The name Jesus, ground in earth and gas in his spirit, and the title name Christ is the variant of the word ghost. So that's the first point. So now we know, according to the nature of nature, Melchizedek, and most importantly, the spirit sun god Melchizedek, definitely has a thing against Ethiopian people. That's what the book is saying. All right, so now we're going to go to the BIAE, book 1, letter J. back. Alright. Which is dealing with who was Melchizedek, Abram, Isaac, and Jacob. So we're going to go to letter J and read pages 15 and 16 first. Alright, who were Melchizedek, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? See, this is why I keep saying you're not smart, you're just a dummy. And you think you're slick because you're still trying to corrupt the message of the BIE and the nature of nature, because both of those books are consistent, and neither one of these books is going to support that Melchizedek, the spirit God, has a positive outlook for African people. Melchizedek was an incarnation of the Most High God of the Phoenicians, not Ethiopians, because the sun god for Ethiopians is Re-Horaktai back then. The sun god for Africans now in Noon is Repu, because it's sun gods and they're different ones. All right, so this is going to line up just how I will tell you in a second. Melchizedek was an incarnation of the Most High God of the Phoenicians called Elyon. Therefore, Melchizedek was what? Phoenician. As stated earlier in this booklet, the Phoenician were a branch of the Hindu people. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are another way of saying Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the Hindu, because the Jewish people are an extraction of the Hindu, and Judaism is another form of Hinduism. Moreover, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are another way of saying Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Therefore, Abraham was Phoenician people, and the Jews adopted that name, and thereby the meeting of Melchizedek and Abraham in the book of Genesis chapter 14 and 19 verse meant that the Jewish people and other Caucasians would receive their religion and culture from Phoenicians, but the Phoenicians had received their basic knowledge and culture from what? The Ethiopians. So the Phoenicians are working in tandem, right, with the Jews, right, which is a branch of the Caucasian race. So the Caucasians got their help and power from the Phoenicians, and the Phoenicians got their help and power from us. So the Phoenicians who worked and worshiped Melchizedek back then took everything that we had, and then they ran with it for a while, and then eventually the Caucasian took it from them. All right. The Jews were originally Greeks from Greece who became the first Caucasian group to reach the lands of Africa and Asia of culture and riches all around 3000 BC. Hence, they became known as Hebrews in ancient times. The word Hebrew means black and star worshiper. And because the Phoenicians were star worshippers, is one reason the Jewish people have a star today as their religious symbol. Moreover, a star is a symbol of power, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. The Jews' original symbol was the cross, like the other Caucasian symbols. Hebrew is a variant of the word Geber, also spelled Geber, all right, which means mighty. All right, so now we're gonna jump forward to the letter N, 26 and 27, which is pages 21 and 22. All right, it said, was Thutmose the first of Egypt Moses the lawgiver? No. The lawgiver was Hammurabi, king of Babylonia, who conquered all of Western Asia around 2100 BC and even went to Europe on his strength and influence. Hammurabi is called Melchizedek in the Bible. Genesis chapter 14, 18, 19 verse, St. John 8, chapter 56 verse, Hebrews 6 chapter 20 verse, Hebrews 7 chapter, as stated earlier in this book. Abraham was Phoenician people, right? And the Jews adopted the name, and the laws of Hammurabi, sometimes called the Code of Hammurabi, were not originally his work, but he developed and established the laws and codes that were originally made by the original Sumerians of Mesopotamia and Babylonia and passed on to the peoples of Euphrates and Tigris River. So now, you going now Hammurabi, which is Melchizedek spirit-wise, existed a couple of 100 years before he got to Thutmose. Because Thutmose, the first, ended up coming into Kemet about 1600 BC. So 16, this is 21, so we're looking at what? A 500-year difference. So Melchizedek, that spirit was 500 years before him in Hammurabi. So if you go into the Hammurabi and the Code of Hammurabi, you see all that stuff, and pretty much that was that particular spirit guard. Then we keep going. The original Sumerians who originally created the laws were what? African pygmies. You see the pattern? We started it, then the Phoenician people took it and then developed it, and then nobody knows the history of what we did behind that. And eventually they gave the stuff to the Jews. All right? Hammurabi was Bodine, and the Bodine were a branch of the Phoenician people. See? Hammurabi, Melchizedek, was an incarnation of the sun god Marduk. So now Melchizedek, as the spirit, is now known also as Marduk, sometimes called Anu and Elyon. Hence, the laws of the Old Testament of the Bible came from the books of Hammurabi, and the story of the divine exodus of the Jews came from the conquering power of Thutmose I. Hammurabi opened the way for what? More Caucasian immigration from Europe to Asia, and even set the stage that led to the Jews' invasion of Egypt. So this is Hammurabi, who's a Phoenician, right? Or an Arab, helped lay the foundation for Kemet to get invaded, right? So this spirit sun god is behind all of this. He possessed Hammurabi, right? 500 years earlier to set the stage to when Thutmose came, which invaded Kemet, allowed more Caucasian to come in and invade Kemet. The same way Melchizedek's spirit caused York to build a small version of Kemet down in South in Georgia, and Ethiopian, and all that foolishness he was doing caused the Caucasians not to invade but raid, and got all of them out of there. Because this is the spirit guard that's been messing around, dethroning, and that's what happened down in Kemet, dethroning. He got removed, even though York had already moved off the land because he knew the police was coming. But the point was, Ethiopian people who lived down there suffered the most. And while y'all scapegoating the Caucasian sheriff seals and them, the real blame came from the spirit being that was possessing York to do the crap he was doing to make them people come. All right? Hammurabi opened the way for more Caucasian immigration from Europe to Asia, and even set the stage that led to the Jews' invasion of Egypt. All this means the history of the Bible is mainly based on what? Egyptian and Babylonian histories, cultures, and mythologies. The books of the Old Testament of the Bible were compiled by the Greeks, and the books of the New Testament were compiled by the Romans. All right? So therefore, now we're establishing that again, the BIAE is following suit, or the nature books is following suit, the BIAE, that Melchizedek was going against the Ethiopian. This book here, book 1, was written in 67. And that nature book, I think 91, was written in 93. All right? So you have all these books right here following the same suit. So what we're doing is showing that you really don't comprehend what you're reading, because you done dedicated yourself to trying to clean up Melchizedek's image, which it can't be done because too much facts have been out there. We're in the sun cycle, and trust me, it's nothing he can do about that. All right, so now we're gonna jump into number 35, pages 27 and 28. We're gonna jump down here. Let's get into Jesus. Let's see if you can see the pattern here. All right. Now look at this. We're gonna start from up here. Jesus became a neophyte and attended the school of Egyptian mysteries. the pyramid, the same type of schools that Moses, Thutmose the First, which you know he was possessed by Melchizedek, had attended. During his attendance there, he became illuminated, that is, possessed by powerful spirit forces. In other words, Jesus became an incarnation of the sun god. Elyon and the moon god, sometimes called Hermes and Trismegistus. So now, Jesus is possessed with two opposing spirit forces, but both of them are part of six ether. One is a sun god of the Phoenician race, and then you got the moon god is of the Hindu race. But they both are dealing with a group of people that came from another. Now look at this. The man himself was called Esau Panthera. Esau is the same as Jesu or Jesus, and Panthera refers to the great sphinx at Giza, Egypt, which has the body of a huge cat and the head of a king, the head or a king. Jesus was an incarnation of the what? The same gods that Melchizedek, which the Hammurabi was, and this is why it is written that Jesus was a priest after the order of Melchizedek. So now, we go from the year 2100 to the year 1600, which is 500 years later, right? And then Jesus comes later, which is almost around the 40s, something BCE. So now Melchizedek can jump all the way down here because he's going down the line. So we already got two people that we seen Melchizedek possess and cause problems for the future. So therefore, so the Caucasian or the Jews can be set up as the cycle intended for it to be. All right. So now Jesus now is possessed by not only Melchizedek, a sun god, now he got the moon god in him. So now he's very powerful. But guess what? Sun and moon spirits are opposite. So that means this particular individual had issues. And that's what you may call bipolar. Because if you got two spirits in you, that means, and they opposite, they not the same type of spirit, you know that that person was bugged out. All right? Which was the body of a huge cat. Okay, so the same God that Melchizedek was, and this is why it's written that Jesus was a priest after the order of Melchizedek. Genesis 14, chapter 18, 19, verses 8. John 8, chapter 56, verse. Hebrews 6, chapter 20, verse. And the Hebrews 7, chapter. Melchizedek was a king, priest, and incarnation of the gods Elyon and Hermes, same as Anu and Sin. So you sitting in here saying that this is a good thing for who? Not for the Ethiopian. Again, you're not comprehending what you're reading. You just running with the Melchizedek, and in the book, it's clearly painting a picture that Melchizedek has a mission. His mission is to dethrone Ethiopian people. That's his mission. Number 36, when the Romans and Jews who were controlling Kemet refused to allow Jesus to take the throne of Egypt, he turned evangelist, which is religionist, and went from place to place in Africa and Asia and wherever Phoenicians could be found. Because Jesus was now moving toward his Phoenician side. And he's looking for Phoenicians, not Ethiopians. Jesus was looking for Phoenicians. Even on the Bible tell you he was looking for the 12 tribes of Israel. He was looking for the Phoenicians. There's no 12 tribes of Israel. That's the zodiac. He turned evangelist and went from place to place in Africa and Asia, and wherever Phoenician could be found, tell them that he was their king sent to gather them together in unity, so they could regain their power in Egypt. For the Phoenicians had been scattered by the cruel oppression and brutal suppression of the Romans, Jews, and other Greeks. Because he taught the Phoenicians that he was their king, is why it is written just before they killed Jesus, they mocked him with a crown of thorns, and with they sign regarding, with they sign reading Esau, king of the Hebrews, meaning the Phoenicians. The name Ammon is Egyptian. Revelation 3, chapter 14, verse. All right, 36, 37. Most of the Phoenicians rejected Jesus. One reason because his father was not Phoenician. All right? And some even plotted against him with the Romans and the Jews because although Jesus did not specifically know it, the spirit forces in him that possessed him had Jesus scheduled to be put to death to save the Caucasians for another 2,000 years. So if you're saying that Jesus possessed by Melchizedek and that York was calling himself Melchizedek, this spirit set Jesus up, meaning that York also got set up by the same spirit. But you trying to say Melchizedek is a good thing. Idiot. And this is why the spirit forces in Jesus gave him the power to attract people and do works and say words that would anger the Romans and Jews to the point of killing him. Now, this is the same thing that happened to Jesus, to York, my bad. York was sitting here going in on the Arabs to the point that the Arabs tried to have him killed. Anybody who's been around long enough know that. Two of the Muslim dudes that blew up the world trade the first time stopped into one of Doc's classes because he got a book with the picture of the two guys that came in there. And York was being given information from the spirit god Melchizedek to make the Arabs so mad that they wanted to kill him. The fact that the spirit god made York go into Islam and then say, I chose Islam because it's the stupidest and dumbest religion, you know them Arabs ain't playing them type of games. So this spirit doing the same crap it was doing way back then. Now York got set up instead of the spirit 2,000 years ago making Esau Panthera piss off the Jews, the Romans and all of them that was running Kemet. This time the spirit made York piss off people in America and people over there in Saudi Arabia. This is why when you go back on YouTube and look up all of those things that York was saying, which was unintelligent, to put yourself in danger by keep talking about the Arabs and messing with the nations and all these people, all this stuff he was doing, this spirit was creating more enemies against the physical person because the spirit didn't give a damn. Contrary to the interpolation put in the Bible later that Jesus knew he was going to be killed, is the fact that Jesus was deceived by the what? Spirit force within him until he was actually being put to death. And evidence of this in the fact is written that Jesus said, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. St. Matthew 27, chapter 46, verse, translated, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Eli is short for Elyon, the most high God of the Phoenicians. So Melchizedek did all that. In the same way, York got set up and went to jail. Then he started blaming everybody else. Before I'm gonna keep calling this man G. This is ridiculous. The spirit forces in him. He went in jail and he been writing ever since. Every now and then he blaming the cult members. Cause before this he was saying that he was gonna get on the ship with 144,000 and be out and come back. So the same way Jesus, it says here that it was a lie that he put in the Bible that Jesus knew he was going to be killed. The same way York never thought he was going to be locked up at a certain point when he was teaching. He was teaching that they was all going to get out of here. And this is why we kept asking Sabians and the Wappies in the debate group, what happened to y'all getting up out of here? Ain't no ships come May 5th, 2000? The vortex didn't open in 2003? What happened? So if you look at York's teachings, at a certain point, York kept saying all the way back when he started, I come to get 144,000 so we can go up into heaven, come back and save the planet. So none of y'all can sit here and say that York originally taught that he was supposed to fail. So this is the signature of Melchizedek. So this is how I keep telling you, you ignorant and you don't know how to reason. Because you trying to paint something positive when it was negative. All right, so with 37, 38. The outcry mentioned in paragraph 37 is not the expression of a person who knew he was going to be put to death. That is expressing a person deceived into believing that he would always be protected from his enemies, but found out too late he was deceived. The spirit forces that were within Jesus left him just before his captors took him prisoner, and this meant that he was powerless to act against them. Jesus' plan was to unite the Phoenicians and regain their power in Egypt by force if necessary. This is very important because York was teaching that Islam was pure, the version that they was teaching, and that was the religion of Allah. Like he was believing all of that. Contrary to after, he said, "Oh, we chose Islam because that was what I was trying to hide." No, because if you look all the way back to when York was 12 years old, and even if you go with the fake story that his mother got pregnant from the grandson of the Mahdi, all that was Islam. So he came up, regardless of that story being a lie, he was already a Muslim when he was little. He was young. So he was already being groomed by Melchizedek, the spirit god. This is why he wanted Islam first. That's how you know what happened. And that same spirit set him up. And he knows he's been set up. That's why he was writing little letters and blaming everybody and this, that, and the third. Why? That's why he just say, well, I thought the aliens had your back. This is the same thing. Jesus thought that he was untouchable and got took. It's the same spirit signature. All right? He was powerless to act against them. Jesus' plan was to unite the Phoenicians and regain their power in Egypt by force if necessary. But the plan of the spirit force within him was to get him killed to save the Caucasian race for another 2,000 years. That is until the end of the moon cycle. Then the Caucasian ruling power will fade away like a disappearing fog that keeps getting thinner and thinner. The moon cycle was predestined to last 6,000 years. So you still think that Melchizedek thing was a good thing? A real idiot, man. You a real clown. All right, let me see what it is next. All right. So basically, what have we learned? We learned that York was possessed by a 6-ether Melchizedek or the Phoenicians. That is why he chose Islam. And a 3-ether Tahuti, which is why he chose the Nubian Islamic Hebrews, Judaism in parentheses, and the 3-ether Osiris Ethiopian style. All right, so York had 3 that was going on. So this is why you seen him teach Islam as true. Then he jumped into Hebrewism, which is before Islam, and teach that was true, and the stuff he taught in that was going against that. Then he jumped into, Christianity and all of that, that's basically the moon god and the underworld god Osiris is a mixture of that. And then he taught that Christianity was right. This is why you see him go through all those schools and contradicting, because the spirit gods in him were contradicting. Even though they all are part of 6-ether and lower. And the lower the spirit goes, the more deadly and powerful it is. So this is why you've seen him going back and forth. And 1 minute he a cowboy, the next minute he's a preacher, the next minute he's an imam, the next minute he's a Native American. That's because the spirit's battling inside his head and bugging him out. This is the true reason why he ended up where he ended up at. Because you deal with something called predestined. Right here at the bottom, the moon cycle was predestined. So everything that people are doing is predestined, you dummy. You couldn't get out of that if you wanted to. All right, all these gods are enemies of the Ethiopian race via pantheism and religion for the last 6,000 years and counting. The gods York gave praise to are the same gods the BIA, AE, and the nature books describe as negative, and we were told in the transcripts they abandoned us and not to look toward them. All right?
This is JP.
What we do, jump up out of here. We run on back here to the transcripts real quick. Number 18. We're going to 18. All right, look what it says. Did the spirit gods and goddesses of Africa and Asia desert the Ethiopian race? And if so, why? Listen to the reason. Yes, it is obvious that they eventually deserted the Ethiopian race. Otherwise, we would not find ourselves in mental, spiritual, and physical captivities. The reason why did the spirit gods and goddesses of Africa and Asia eventually forsake the Ethiopian race is next. But in order to understand the answer to this question, one must first know something about the smack circle of order. The smack circle of order is the existing circle of all space, all matter, in all time, and endlessness of distance and continuity. When this great circle of time and reasonability is divided into 4 equal quarters by perpendicular line and horizontal line, it gives us the 4 seasons of all existence. All existence is absolute nature in general, and absolute nature in general is nature complete. Let it be known. Listen to reason. As you face the circle of order, the first quarter of the circle is on the bottom right, and it's called revolution, or the revolutionary cycle, and it represents the springtime of all existence and power, standards, qualities, morals, and all values of absolute nature. The second quarter of the circle is on the top right side, and it's called origination, or the originary cycle, and it represents the summertime of all existence and power, standard, qualities, ethics, and all values in eternal nature. The third quarter of the existing circle, as the circle turns counterclockwise, is on the top left, and that side is known as Dorigination, or the Doriginary cycle, and it represents the fall or autumn time of all existence, which is infinite nature. The fourth quarter of the smack circle of order is on the bottom left side, and it's called evolution, or the evolutionary cycle, and it represents the winter time of all existence and power, standards, qualities, morals, and all values of unique nature. Although the writer missed saying it early in this paragraph, the autumn time of Almighty nature likewise represent in power, standards, ethics, qualities, and all values of unique, omnipotent nature. Let it be known. Listen to reason. Evolution is not improvement in persons, places, and things in the sense that we have been led to believe, but deterioration instead, especially for the Ethiopian race, because the original gods and goddess progenitors and ancestors of the African race inhabited the top half of the smack circle order in the highest mental, spiritual, and physical condition and qualities of nature possible for flesh and blood beings. So when the bottom half of the order circle came as evolution, that meant continuous decline for the descendants of the flesh and blood gods and goddesses who lived in the top half of the circle, and their descendants are the African race. Yet on the other hand, straight-haired people's ancestors and progenitors did not originate until after evolution began, and these straight-haired people are called mankind, and mankind was slated to incline, rise in power and authority, while Tarkan, the Ethiopian race, was scheduled to decline and fall until the end of evolution at rock bottom of the smack circle order. Let it be known. And again, the Phoenicians are a straight-haired race of people, so therefore Melchizedek, who was also the Most High of those mankind groups, the original man, right? That is the reason why that spirit sun god has been going at our race ever since that sun god was originated to be the Most High sun god for them. All right? So listen to reason. So you should be able to see and understand by now that the decline and fall of the Ethiopian race were due to the negative powers of evolution and decrease in our sound right reasonability due to the same negative force of nature. Therefore, there was not much the gods and goddesses of planet Earth could do about the decline and fall of the Ethiopian race, because our downward plight was what? Predestined by the circular activities of the circle of all existence known as the smack circle of order. However, unfortunately, it is now time for the mental resurrection rather than liberation of the African race, because the smack circle of order must keep turning and we Africans as an ethnic race have reached rock bottom. There is only one way to go, and that is upward, unless it is time for the universe of infinite eternal nature to start disintegrating. And let it be remembered always, and let it be known. So therefore, that shows you that the nature of nature tells NoopooH not to give praise and honor to these gods, because they're not going to help you. But you being ignorant, you keep praising and worshiping Melchizedek, who is against Ethiopian people. And therefore, you still got your mind just all mixed up with, like, I'm the enemy, because the spirit in you is the enemy of African race. And that's why that spirit got you turned up, because it has a problem because of the race that I am. Because as far as everything else you bringing up is garbage, because that's not what I'm doing right now. So that's your spirit being problem, that's using you like a hoe on the street, because you can't stop. Every day you just going and going and going, because you got a Phoenician sun spirit mentality that hates the Ethiopian. And because I'm carrying on the work of Afro-Unu, you got a problem with that, because the book tells you that the spirit Melchizedek job is to dethrone Ethiopian kings everywhere. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're trying to dethrone me, and it's not going to work, because the cycle and season is in our favor. So you can just keep trying until your little heart's content. It's not going to help you. All you're doing is exposing yourself spiritually, and I'm using the nature books to do that. All right? So that's what we got now. So let's end it like this. We're going to end it like this. All right? So we already know that Melchizedek and Murdoch was by the sixth ether sun god. That job was and is to take down the black race as much as possible. So you're going around calling yourself Murdoch, teaching Sumerianism, and all of that was not by coincidence. That's because the spirit in him is dedicated, obligated to take us off our path. We was already over here in America getting our butts kicked daily with all of the foolishness, and we was waking up. That's what the 60s was about. As soon as we was getting ready to wake up, they put York right there to put us back to sleep, and been dethroning us mentally all this time. The same way York was sitting here making men in his communities go out and work for him and bring $100 a day in, and if they didn't bring in the quota, the men would get beat, and they couldn't sleep with their wives, and Yorkmen was sleeping with their wives. That right there is demeaning to do that to another person. But because we know the spirit behind York is the reason why York carried on like that, and he's still lying to y'all to this day, and still trying to get in the way of the sun god that worked with Afro-Unu to bring our race back to normalcy. You and York and the rest of those Sabian and Wipens who we had to fight all these years to get the facts straight, y'all still are operating with the sixth ether anti-African spirit. All right, so we got a picture of York as Murdoch. So we already got that. Now let's go down here. Remember it said that Esau was possessed, Jesus was possessed with Murdoch and the moon god. Look at these pictures here. This is the York book, Thoth. Because you got a sick mind to keep calling me the moon god. How was that? I don't understand that. I never claimed such title. What you're doing is committing blasphemy, because you're saying things that are not true, and you're upgrading my spirit to the point of a god. It don't matter what. It don't matter if you was calling me another kind of god. The point is, I don't claim this title. I wrote books on the moon god. I never claimed to be the moon god. But we know who did though, don't we? So while you around here calling people names and trying to make it look crazy, we know who that is. So you can stop trying to make it look like I'm the one that got the problem. It's not me. This York. Here go another, the deity thought. This can't be the same because there's no way this big-headed man can fit his head into this. Look at that. How was that? This little old head, ain't no way this man head can fit in here. And he got the moon on his head with a penis at the top. I've been telling y'all that. And we told this the ibis bird, and the ibis bird cleans his own butt out with his beak, which is a form of anal cleansing. Because this is why Tahuti chose that bird, because they deal with homosexuality. The nature of nature already tells you that. So the person that's gay and homosexual, you got the wrong one, partner. That's your teacher. Look at that. York put out a book called Zidihuti's Vision. And if you ever read that book, it talks about homosexuality in there. Here go York right here. Look at that. The Grand Hierophant Tahuti. Once again, Tahuti is a moon god. I've never wore that name. Ever. So I don't know why you keep trying to tag that name to me, because it doesn't go. I never claimed that name. So this is what makes you a liar of liars, because you still trying to make people who listen to you think that I use that name. I've never used that name. This is why I'm saying it's nothing to debate, because you a liar, and the type of lies you telling is insane. It's like, why would I want to even sit face to face with a liar? And you delusional too. So it makes no sense. Isn't it because nobody is afraid of nothing you're gonna say? You delusional. You can't stand on your own. You the one who's speaking for another man. You can't get his testicles out your mouth. Every time you turn around, it's either my name in your mouth or the master teacher. And they call that on the streets being on somebody's job. Because every time I turn around, you making videos and they based on old stuff and they lies. Ain't nothing up to date, but I can bust you every day right now. Using the facts and slap your teacher around at the same time and your false teachings. Because all who spread false teachings are you. Now let's go to the books. This is at the BIAE. When Cain reached the garden, he and she were not called Cain anymore. They were called Seth. Same as the Egyptian Seth, which means what? Serpent. In the Bible, Seth is pictured as the third son of Adam and Eve, but the birth of Seth actually means the rebirth for Adam and Eve in person of Cain. Back to the lands of Africa and Asia, of culture and riches. Notice in the Bible how similar some of the names of the descendants of Cain and Seth are. Genesis, the 4th and 5th chapters. It is no coincidence, so all this means that the Bible is a spiritual book of Cain and his God, the moon god, who had many names and titles such as what? Sin, Set, Thoth, Siva, Hermes, Leviathan, and Poseidon. All right, now look at this right here. This out of the Egyptian pharaohs of ancient Egypt book. Sin, Father Ishtar. Why is all of the things that the BI of nature and nature is calling negative? York is the one that's giving these people attention and these gods attention. Just like you got your latest video, the moon god Sin up there on the title with my face. It's nowhere near ever used any of these names. But the one who's been using these names and had drawings of them is York. So if the moon god Sin is negative and all these things, then you need to put the blame where it goes. You keep trying to place something on me that don't exist. It don't fit. It doesn't fit. Nature book 2, number 68. Listen to reason. The moon of our planet Earth is basically new to gender, but does have enough male and female materials, powers, and energies to produce being called the moon god and moon goddess by way of brain concentration. And the moon also produces hermaphrodites by way of mind and spirit beings. Of course, hermaphrodites are persons who are homosexual, bisexual, or anyone who indulges in a combination of unnatural or diverse practices sexually. The word hermaphrodite stems from the root word Hermes, and Hermes is the Greek version or name of the what? Moon god. In other words, Hermes is the moon god Caucasian style, or in the nature of the Caucasian. So once again, York been calling himself Tahuti, Didgehuti, Ziddihuti, Thoth, Hermes, all of that, and we got it all documented. I just gave some of the rundown because you are insane, and this is what I'm telling you. Something is really wrong with you up here that you still trying to negatize. The words are already negative and the gods is already negative, but you trying to put those names on me when it's clear evidence that your teacher is the one is that one. So every time you keep talking about the moon god sin and somebody's gay and all that, look at your teacher and you too, because the way you going at men that are real men and you trying to defend a pedophile, homosexual, bisexual, transvestite, trisexual, hormone sexual, something is wrong with you, because none of this stuff got nothing to do with me. That's your teacher. Hypocrite. Now look at this right here. Now we just read about Jesus in the books. And Jesus got took because Melchizedek set him up to get up out of here. Him and the moon god working in tandem against him. Same thing. Even though a bishop put this out, York never really acted like he wasn't Jesus, even though he claimed he wasn't, but he was doing all these things, had pictures like the Jesus with the lamb, all this stuff. He was moonlighting as Jesus. Why? That's NoopooH. You ain't see Afro doing this type of foolishness, and the BIA and the Nine Ball both tell you to leave religion alone. So there's no way York had any input on these writings. He went against everything those books said. Here you go again. Look at this. This will keep talking about, keep destroying you because you don't know how to stand on your own. You getting this heat for York because you stupid. You don't know what it means to get the Holy Ghost and be saved. Ain't my fault. I'm happy that Christ found favor in me. Ridiculous. You can't. What are you going to say about that? You going to say that's me? Give it another year, you be saying all this stuff is me? You be photoshopping my face on all these faces because you sick like that? Everybody know York had a church down there on the land, had a whole choir, was trying to buy what he was trying to buy, a church in Macon. All this old crap. You sick. These your teacher. He was possessed with Melchizedek and Tahuti. He said it himself. You even said it. Now why don't you try to backtrack off of that? Look at this foolishness. What is this? And new. Right? What does the BIA Book 1, number 27 say? The original Sumerians who originally created laws were African pygmies. Hammurabi was Bodine, and the Bodine were a brand to the Phoenician people. Hammurabi Melchizedek was incarnation of the sun god Marduk, sometimes called Anu Elyon. So the Phoenician sun god Melchizedek was also called Anu. And we know that the Phoenician was straight hair. But this picture, your guy Anu with woolly hair. This is foolishness and deception. 6 ether. So when we read everything, we know that no matter what name the Phoenician Most High God was dealing with, that was against us. Elyon. York put out a Torah where he had the name Elyon in there, and he used the Arabic version, Elyon. So all that running through these schools with York had us worshiping the Phoenician sun god. So it's nowhere in the Noon books or the BIAE or the Noun Ball that tells you to do these things. It's nowhere NoopooH did that. We don't even worship NoopooH. Noonaboos don't worship anything. We converse with NoopooH as our parent powers, as children will converse with their parents. We know how to, this household know how to communicate with the brain new gods, if need be.
This is JP.
We bypass spirits. We don't have to do all of that. But York diverted black people at least from 1990 to now. "20-some years diverting. And you got the nerve to be trying to call me the wrong one. I told you, dumbass, you don't know right from wrong. You sitting here following the wrong one. But you trying to make people believe I'm the one that's putting out wrong information. Negro, please. And here come the 3 ether right here. You getting ethered all the way up out of here. Look at this foolishness. Who is that? Osiris. Got a picture of Osiris. Here go another one. Remember this one? You should. You got the skull with an afro on your arm, you big dummy. Who influenced you to put Osiris on your arm? You can't say you had that on your arm before that. I doubt it. I'm willing to bet you got that on your arm after you started listening to York. I could be wrong, but I highly doubt it. Look at him. Look at your teacher. Look at him. Why? Why? Why is he dressed like Osiris? Why? That's supposed to be a good thing? Maybe if you was somebody that was following around the Armin Rock Squad or somebody, but in Noon, this is not a good thing. The BIA Book 2, number 60. The Caucasian race is Dracula, who lives by the scapegoat doctrine. The satanic scapegoat doctrine maintains that the ghost, the god and spirit of the Caucasian race must survive by killing the living to obtain their blood, because ghost has no blood life fluid of his own, and it loves most of all the blood of the willow-haired people. See that? So Osiris, ghost god, loves the blood of the Ethiopian race more than anybody else. That means Osiris is an enemy, right? This is what BIA say, right? So the dead, the ghost of Dracula, the Caucasian race, creates conditions called captivity and slavery. Isn't that what York was doing? When he had his community, he created conditions of filth and trap and kept women on welfare and kept the men out there working and kept the family separated and all of that. Doesn't it sound like what Osiris likes? Of course it is. So that it may have victims whom it can conveniently prey upon whenever it's needed additional blood for life. This is what York had. He had the men, women, and the children separated. So whenever he wanted to prey on them, whenever he felt like it, he can just go in there or have them come to his house because the parents were stuck on punishment. They had to get permission to see their own kids. They had to get permission to sleep with their opposite halves and being married. York control all of that. Looks like Osiris ethics to me. Then it says, the blood of the best known victims of Dracula is sent to the high places in Caucasian religions, and that blood is offered up to 6 ether Jesus, which York was moonlighting as Jesus, and the ghost guard the spirits of the Osiris mummy. Come on. You can't be serious. Your teacher is the moon god, Melchizedek, and the underworld god, Ethiopian style. 6 ether, 3 ether, underworld 3 ether. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 3 south. You dummy. Nature, book 2, page 93. Look what it says. Listen to reason. Ghost guard, the same as ghost spirit, is almost anti-nature in the sense that they, male and female, tend to be the leader in undoing what the original creator did, and ghost does this by destroying, oppressing, suppressing, and changing original forms, original natural composition, and original natural culture of original persons and things. Isn't this what York was doing? Changing clothes, changing doctrines, changing this, changing that. Isn't that, this is what he was doing, right? Right now he got the Sabians looking like Hindus, and they Ethiopians by race. Had them running around down south talking about they cowboys. That's not your race. Talking about you as Native Americans. That's not your race. All these is Phoenician. Anything except who they really were. Call them Nuwapians. There's no such thing. He had the moral part, right? But all this other stuff, I'm a Hebrew, it's no, you're not. These are not ethnic race terms. These are religious terms. Once again, falsehood. Right? It says natural composition and original natural culture of original persons and things, and perform these anti-nature processes by indeed spellbinding person things to get the work done, also causing them to deny the power and authority of absolute nature as the one supreme being, which is what y'all doing right now. Denying and still messing up the information. Ghost god is Osiris, also called Anubis, Yama, Pluto, etc. Chief of the dead at point 3 south. And he also called his what's up? Chief Thunderbird Black Eagle. You can't make this up. On the smack circle of law and order where we all exist right now at this writing. Ghost god, ghost goddesses, however, are just doing what their nature dictates, but yet ghosts are still listed among the powers and force of nature because truly there are no other powers. And one of the names they said was what? Anubis. It's another name for the moon god too in the nature books. Here we go again. York had a picture of Anubis. What else is there to say? You should be embarrassed. Your girl should be embarrassed for you. Because all you doing is making yourself look dumb. Because you're the one who's defending a pedophile and a homosexual that's being controlled or was controlled by a 6 ether sun spirit that was against the black race. You ain't got no sense, not even the sense you was born with. True men to call it peace in wartime.